Hey guys, how are you? So today we're going to discuss differences between Form 2 printer, Form 3, and Form 3B. And also at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my recommendation on which one you should buy if you're going to print surgical guides. So now let's start out with comparing between Form 2 and Form 3B. Excuse me, Form 3. So Form 2 came out several years ago. I want to say roughly like 3 to 4 years ago. And it has been widely used in many private practice settings as well as in dental schools. I know for sure um, University of Louisville Dental School is using this Form 2 to print a lot of their surgical guides as well as different parts for their research. And our school has been using this strictly for the past 2 years for printing all the implant surgical guides that are used in periodontics program. And recently, in 2019, they came out with Form 3. So I wanted to find out the differences between two, and their webpage does do a pretty good job of putting down the differences in each of the categories. And the technology, they say that it's using low force stereolithography. So I watched their video. Basically, the idea behind this new technology is they found a way to reduce the surface tension when the model is being lifted up from this platform for each curing layers in order to produce a better, essentially a better model with less amount of distortion. Besides that, I think that's the biggest difference. And if you look at the XY resolution, they didn't even list what it is for Form 2, although I presume it was probably a larger, meaning lower resolution. But at the with the current or the latest version, it's able to print in 25 microns in XY resolution. If you look at the laser spot size, typically the smaller the spot size, it will lead to again better resolution of the print, and you're looking at 85 micron versus 140. So that's substantially smaller. If you look at the percentage, well, we're down to almost like a 60, right? So that's quite a bit. But as far as how much will that make a difference in the overall quality of the print, I'm not so sure, at least in the dental setting. It may certainly make a difference in certain applications and fields where you need the best possible quality, but we have been able to print a surgical guide that has been used very successfully in the clinical setting using this Form 2 printer. So I'm hoping to try this one out, but I'm not sure if it's going to make any difference in the clinical setting. If you look at the build volume size, the new one does allow you to print a little bit taller, again 18.5 centimeter versus 17.5. Besides that, layer thickness, they're very essentially the same. If you look at the printing properties and all of these, essentially I didn't find a whole lot of difference between other than the one that I already mentioned. But what I do want you to know is, and this is a big one, again, anyone who's printing this for the use in medicine or dentistry, Form 3 is not capable of using biocompatible material. So this could be a deal breaker for many of you, whereas Form 2 is capable of using biocompatible material. And feel free to look at the rest of the chart on the website, but essentially they're very much the same besides the ones that I mentioned. Perhaps one other thing, maybe it is a little bit heavier printer, 17.5 kilogram versus 13. And besides that, I mean, they're very, very similar printers. But I think the biggest one for many people will come down to this. Again, this different technology and focal spot, it may not make a lot of difference. Laser focal spot here, spot size, may not make a difference for most people, but biocompatible material will certainly play a big role in deciding which one you should go with. So recently, as far as I understand, it was around November or December of 2019, they released Form 3B, to address that issue. So here's the website. Let me show you here. Form 3B, more smiles all around. Form 3B is an advanced desktop 3D printer optimized for biocompatible material. You can see that this is very much specifically designed for people in the dental field. Look at this models, dental arch, and how it's used to create and print surgical guide in conjunction with intraoral scanner. And look at all these examples that they gave us. Certainly it's geared toward dentists and people in the dental field. So I wanted to find out the main difference between Form 3B versus Form 3. I searched quite a bit using Google as well as their website, Formlab's website. I really did not find any difference besides the fact that this is capable of handling biocompatible material, whereas Form 3 is not. But if you compare any of these other material or mechanical specification, they're identical. So the company is not telling us what makes Form 3B capable of printing biocompatible material versus Form 3. So essentially, if you're in the dental field or any other like healthcare field that needs to handle a biocompatible material, you're forced to buy Form 3B. What's more interesting is, so you want to find out how much this is, right? And it does not list the price of Form 3B at this point. It asks you to contact the sales department. Whereas Form 3, you can get a basic package starting at $33,499. And for Form 2, you can get a refurbished model for $2,850. We're in the process of finding out the cost of Form 3B, but my presumption is that Form 3B is going to be slightly more expensive than Form 3. So here's a dilemma, right? So say you need to print a surgical guide, so which one should you buy? So the cost difference between Form 2 to Form 3B, I'm going to be estimate to be around 1,000, since Form 3, let me go back, is about 3,500 versus 2,800. So that's about the difference of about $700, right? And presuming that Form 3 is a little bit more expensive, so it may cost around closer to upper 3,000. So 3,800, 3,900, that's my guess. So is that $1,000 worth it, right? But it does offer new technology, allows you to print a model that's a little bit taller. Based on my experience, right, in the dental setting, you are going to be fine with just the Form 2 printer. At least in our school, I haven't run into any cases that that I felt that Form 2 was not adequate to handle all the dental cases. So if you're looking for the most cost-effective way of getting into printing your own surgical guide, I think Form 2, is the way to go. It's not very expensive. If you know how much dental lab charge for surgical guide, I mean, you can get your money's back very quickly. I mean, this cost is very, it's a low barrier, the way I look at it. If you don't mind spending another $1,000 to get the latest and greatest technology, I mean, that's definitely up to you. I mean, it sure is the latest thing that they just came out like literally a month ago, but in my opinion, will it really make a difference in terms of the quality of your surgical guide, such that the guide from 3B is going to lead to better implant outcome? Obviously, there's no studies been done, but my presumption is that it's not going to make any clinical difference. It will be more expensive. Not only the printer itself is about $1,000 more expensive, but also its parts. So this tank that it will be using, it will be more expensive than this basic tank that comes with Form 2. So that's my my insight on this. but we are going to be buying 3B because we are now printing more than enough parts for a single printer to handle. We wanted another printer, and I think for me to invest the money into buying this machine and share my experience with my dental students and the people in the dental community, it's well worth the extra money in my opinion. So we'll be using this, and I'll definitely be sharing more informations down the road. But again, I just don't quite understand why they made this cheap printer that allowed the biocompatible material to work, but doesn't allow their new printer, Form 3, to be compatible with biomaterial. And you're forced into buying Form 3B, which is likely be more expensive. Again, I don't quite understand that. What other, different mechanism is required in order for it to handle biocompatible. Anyway, it certainly is targeting toward dental community because they specifically developed this for basically dental people. Anyway, that's about it from me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for your attention.